only got 2 episodes left in Dexter Resurrection, and this is turning out to be one of the best seasons of the show. One of the big questions lingering out there, who is the New York Ripper? So today I'm going to dive into 10 of the theories for who the New York Ripper could be and rank them. While I'm talking, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, who do you think is the New York Ripper? And do you have some other theory that I missed that maybe I should consider? There's some really wild ideas out there that as soon as people explain them, you go, I don't know, that actually sounds kind of interesting. I was originally going to do this only as a short, and as I started researching it, and then my buddy Cody Leach put out a video yesterday, all of a sudden I was like, wow, there's so many great ideas to consider, to tie into, and suddenly I had a lot more to say on this subject, and this turned into a full-blown video. So be sure to join down below. I'd love to hear all of your theories, because I'm starting to go down the rabbit hole. And as we go into this, I'm kind of ranking them a little bit on how interesting they are to me, and likewise on how likely they are to happen, how much they make sense for happening. With that said, let's do this. Number 10, Claudette, our staying alive obsessed detective. I don't think it's particularly likely that it's her. I don't think it would make a lot of sense if it was her. She seems like the person that more likely she's close to the person that is the New York Ripper than the fact that she would be the New York Ripper. She's obsessed with the case. She's investigating the case. All things point towards the fact that she's just missing the obvious thing, not to the fact that she in fact is the killer that is obsessed with herself or something like that. So I really don't put much stock into this one, but she is one of our characters that potentially could be the New York Ripper. Cooper Morrison, the man that killed Prater's family. This is one of those theories that's out there kind of based around the idea that at some point in time he gets incarcerated and thus the killings stop. He's of course close to Prater, which would explain why Prater would have his weapon, and likewise could explain why the killings stop because he's dead, but maybe kind of Prater is toying around with it, playing with it, and so he's the one continuing to harass the victims in some sort of way. I don't particularly like this theory. I don't think it makes a ton of sense. I don't think it's a very satisfying resolution to things because you reveal who the New York Ripper is only to be like, he's dead. It's like, okay, it's not interesting to me, and I don't think it fully adds up. 8, Brian Moser, Dexter's brother. This is another one of those more far-fetched theories that is a little bit of fun to kind of play around with the idea that he was killing people in New York and the killing stopped because of Dexter. But I think that's kind of as far as it goes, much like with Cooper Morris. It's not very interesting to have the reveal be someone that died a while ago, and it kind of just turns into like, look, everything's connected. Look, there's one more tie in here. And like there could be some little bit of crescendo if as a reveal to Prater, that maybe Prater has more information about it, and as Prater realizes that Dexter isn't red, that he is in fact the Bay Harbor Butcher, and the Bay Harbor Butcher is still working, and he's been this close to him all along, and then it discovers that he's the brother of the New York Ripper, and you can see a scenario where maybe there's some sort of like, aha, fun revelation moment, but the plot also just kind of ends because he's already dead. So it just doesn't feel very interesting to me outside of maybe some sort of like aha crescendo. And of the potential aha crescendos, this one doesn't, like this one just feels too forced and too kind of goofy. Number 7, Sam Blessing's daughter's fiance. And this is another one that I think would be just a little bit too far-fetched. I think there's maybe a little bit of red herring, a little bit of a guy that does a few things that are a little bit off that maybe could make you be a little suspicious of him, but it would feel just kind of too out of the blue for this very random guy to end up being tied into everything kind of going on. I guess in some other theory videos, people have said that his voice sounds a little bit like the voice that was on the recording, and you go, okay, maybe there's something a little bit there. And then likewise drew some ties between, there's this drink that he's kind of obsessed with, probiotics that help your gut, and the Ripper rips out guts. Like, there's a little bit of something there where you think maybe they were trying to put those red herrings that maybe starts you theorizing in wrong directions or something like that. But it's one of those ones that you can see where he would tie in. It doesn't feel like totally out of left field, but he's also such a small part in the show and just such a random guy that it just feels completely Scooby-Doo ending of like, ta-da, it's that guy right there. Wait, that guy is the person behind all of it? That just doesn't seem remotely satisfying as a resolution or reveal. Today's video is brought to you by HelloFresh. You may have heard of HelloFresh, America's #1 choice for home cooking. They send chef-crafted recipes and fresh ingredients to your home. But this summer, they made their biggest menu upgrade yet. HelloFresh has doubled the size of their menu. That means each week you can choose from 100 different options, including new seasonal dishes and recipes from around the world. Their menu is now healthier, which means you'll feel great eating their high-protein and veggie-filled recipes, which is awesome in my mind because I'm a high-protein, low-carb kind of guy. Here's where it gets awesome. They're tastier. You can get steak and seafood recipes delivered, no extra cost. There's 3 times more seafood on the menu now at no extra cost. HelloFresh is the easiest way to cook dinner. They send you the ingredients in the right proportions. They tell you exactly what to do. And so a terrible cook like me is able to make delicious meals. The best way to cook just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/Sean Chandler 10FM now to get 10 free meals plus free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's HelloFresh.com/Sean Chandler 10FM to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life. Number 6, Jonah Mitchell, the Trinity Killer's son. This is a theory that Cody Leach has been promoting for many, many weeks now. To me, it feels like it's just not set up enough in the season. There's just not enough there to get me to that point in time. But, you know, some of the connections here that when we last saw him was the Nebraska episode, season 5 or 6, and Dexter decides to have mercy on him as he's clearly a bit of a kook. He's trouble. And there's a shot of him using a blade that is reminiscent of the blade that we see as New York Ripper's weapon. And so there's a couple things there. There's a lingering plot thread from the original run. We know he's heading in this violent direction. He's used a weapon like this. I don't see enough connective tissue in the season that we currently have for them not to be like, aha! Wait, what? Where did that come from? I think there is storytelling potential there because you have a situation where Dexter let someone live and it led to people dying. You have a situation where Dexter has ties to this kid's life imploding, and Dexter's failings have now led us to this situation. And so if we're setting up New York Ripper as the villain of our next season, there's a bunch of really interesting on a story level things that you could do with that. But there's another kind of one of these aha reveals that I think would be more interesting in that regard. But you can even see his dad killed Harrison's mom. You can just see where if we do a whole season about that there's just fascinating things that you can do that are fun to play around with. But if we're heading in that direction, I just think we needed to have more connect us to that. Set up that it's not just out of the blue, this very much side character from 15 years ago comes back. It's just too big of a leap in my mind at this point in time. Number 5, Prater. Now, for a while, he was my number 1 on here because he just felt so much like the obvious person. And generally speaking, the obvious person is either an obvious red herring or just it's the most straightforward answer. And if you need to go do a bunch of story calculus in order to get to an answer, which a lot of the ones on this list, there's that just complication of like, put this together and this and this and this and this, ta-da! When right in front of you, there's a guy that is obsessed with serial killers, that does dinner with serial killers, that is inspired by serial killers. I wonder if he's a serial killer. Like, it's just kind of right there. And even as he's really touched by Dexter's vulnerability and kind of explaining the thought, not the details of the kill, but the thought process of it. And he's inspired by that. You go, it seems like there might be something to this. I feel like as we've kind of moved closer to the end of the season, they haven't moved us along further enough into that to make that, it doesn't feel like an interesting reveal anymore with what they've done with other characters and stuff like that. So I don't currently think he's the prime suspect, though I'm not surprised if he is. Doesn't seem like the imposing threat. Doesn't make sense that he would be the most vicious of New York slasher killers. I just don't know how well that works if it's just him by himself. But there's someone that could be working with it. Number 4, Charlie, the head of Prater's security. And to say that, like, I debated putting these two together as, like, maybe they're a pairing, but each of them kind of have their own reasons that I'd have them there. But clearly she has a killer instinct. She's investigative. You have a scenario where maybe she was the New York Ripper and then got discovered by Prater, so now she works for Prater. He has that over her, and for that reason, she has to kind of she gets her kills through working for him rather than doing what she would have been doing, but is still toying with the people. So I think she'd be more likely. Once again, because of the way the season's played out, this doesn't feel like one of the more dramatically satisfying conclusions to it. And I think there is the possibility of Prater and her are working together in some of this, and that's kind of the connection between the two of them as they work together, and she does the kills he likes to watch, something like that. Maybe there's this other ingredient, and now they're having fun toying with people afterwards. I could see something like that, but they don't feel like the top choices in my mind. Real quick before I go into the top 3, remember to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know who you think the New York Ripper is. Did I miss a fun theory? Are you going to poke holes? Especially with the timeline on all of these is pretty messy and it's ambiguous, so it's tough to put some of that together. But Dexter's always kind of played around with the timeline, so let me know your thoughts down below. Let's have a lively yet respectful conversation. Number 3, Cody Bennett, Rita's son and Dexter's long-lost other son. This is one that prior to doing research for this video, I would have called this one just like a crazy out there, like, what are you talking about? Until you start thinking through on a dramatic level, on a story level, on a thematic level, what's the most interesting direction that they could go that would just have a lot of emotional weight to it and could easily carry us through another season. And the pick that does that without question the easiest is Cody Bennett. And even the reason I shot down some of the ones lower on this list is because they feel like out of the blue, where did that come from? Where did that, like, this person just shows up? It's not interesting. But you can do that with Cody as the final cliffhanger of the season. We end on an actual cliffhanger. We resolve a bunch of these plot threads around Prater, the detective Batista, and then we get to this big reveal as to the New York Ripper. Something's about to go down with New York Ripper, and we have a reveal there. Cody and Dexter looks up to see who the New York Ripper is, and it's Cody, and he just goes, "Cody, is that you?" Season ends. It's just end right on that note. Like, this hard cliffhanger in a way. This show's never done a hard cliffhanger like that with, like, a dangling thread. Like, we've killed people at the end of seasons that is like, but that's a finality. This is a tease of something big that's what we're going to do next. And so the reason that we haven't even teased this at all in any way, shape, or form is because the whole point of it is that we're doing a final, like, reveal that just blows your mind of like, whoa, that just happened. And why is this interesting? Because Dexter has spent all of this time trying to stop Harrison from having a dark passenger, all while ignoring the other kid. You got to remember, his biological dad is also a violent person that was abusive in the home. And so there was that early exposure to violence, followed by dad dies, followed by mom dies. Enormous amounts of trauma, violence in his first 10 years. And Dexter didn't try to help him. He didn't see that. He didn't think that way. He did such a one-to-one of literally sitting in blood with Harrison. He forgot the other kid that, by all accounts, he really did care about Rita's kids. But he kind of abandoned that one, assuming he was okay. And so all of a sudden you create a scenario where season 2, Dexter has 2 sons and 2 very different, like, what does he do with that? That's to me where this one that it's like, it feels so far-fetched. Like, how does the timeline work? It hasn't been set up at all. We haven't talked about it. But that's also like Harrison has a brother and a sister. We barely addressed them. They're like these lingering plot threads that he has virtually no memories of them. I don't know what he knows about them. And then you bring one of them in as the villain of the next season. And just right there, there's so much weight to that. Because I haven't set up, I can't put it higher. Don't think I can put it in the top 2 because it's like, aha! But I think the aha is exactly why. It's just such like a blow your mind in the last minute of the season. Dexter spent all this time on Harrison, all this time trying to track down killers, and someone that was so close to him, was such a sweet little innocent child, is now the New York Ripper. How does the timeline work? I don't know. There's like, I don't know. But man, that could be a cool, like, talk about ending the season and we spend the next year theorizing. Our runner-up, Melvin, the less competent cop. So this is Claudette's partner, and the reason I have him so high is because he's right there and he doesn't serve that much of a purpose yet. He's just the guy that's always kind of shooting things down, doesn't seem as interested, isn't as curious, isn't as, like, he's not the obsessive one like Claudette. He's just kind of right there doing his job just fine. And if they don't have a reveal involving him, he's kind of superfluous. Like, he's just a stock character that's just there. As soon as he's the New York Ripper, suddenly there's a reason that he seems less interested. He's less dedicated. How's the New York Ripper getting away? Because he's able to fudge evidence, change things around, things like that. And so it just, sometimes it's like kind of, what's the most straightforward answers? Who are the people that are right there in front of us? Well, the person that's right in front of Claudette, the person that's right there. I think one of the biggest things working against him is that the person the police office turns out to be a killer. We've just done that a lot. We did it back in January with Original Sin. That's the plot of Bay Harbor Butcher. We've been there. We've done that. And so I think that works against it a bit. I think it might play a little bit differently in this particular context. And so that doesn't necessarily put that, obviously it's my runner-up on this list because it just feels like to me he's right there, like, what is this guy doing? What's his purpose on the show? And you go, oh, okay. The reason that he's just so dismissive and doesn't care is because his primary goal is to get away with it. But my number 1 pick is Blessing, and somewhat because it is the obvious, straightforward answer, which is to say you introduce someone that is very warm and friendly, you add a little bit of complication, and then you start to realize, wait a minute, this guy is not what we thought he was. And ultimately, you literally reveal the fact that he has killed someone in the past, has a very dark side to him that was able to be contained by his mother. And then she dies, and maybe that world starts to crumble around him. So you've set up a situation where we had someone that seemed like the farthest thing from the New York Ripper to, wait a minute, that's not so crazy anymore. You've walked us to it, which means he could be this season's red herring of, you made us look at this, so we're not looking at this. That's what exactly they could be doing with Blessing. But once again, in my mind, whatever the most obvious answer is the one that I'm most likely inclined towards. But I'm more thinking also on how does the story come together in our finale. We have to resolve Batista's plotline. I I don't think we're going to have Dexter kill him off. I don't think it's satisfying to send him to jail. So I think what's interesting is you find a way for him to have a change of thought. How do you have a change of thought? Someone tries to kill Batista. Dexter shows up, saves the day. And Batista has this kind of like, oh, I don't like what you're doing, but you're stopping something much worse. I get it. And you're still the guy that I knew. You just have a really dark hobby. And so you have a situation where we've already linked together Blessing and Batista. There's a connection there. And we know that Batista is desperately trying to catch Dexter, who lives in Blessing's basement. So you have a scenario where Batista is trying to track Dexter, trying to get information. And through that process, sees something Blessing has done, gets exposed to something, and all of a sudden Blessing is going to potentially kill Batista. And so what's our finale is that Dexter is in trouble with Prater, trying to escape whatever mess he's in with Prater, of them discovering the truth about him. He's got to escape that to save Batista before Blessing kills him. And so how do you wrap up all of these plot lines? How do they intersect? Prater is slowing down Dexter, saving Batista. Dexter saving Batista changes Batista's mind about him. And all of a sudden, we get an answer on a plot and resolve plot lines in a way that feels earned. And a journey got us there. Batista has to see something that changes his worldview in his thinking. What could make him do that? Dexter being a hero. The Bay Harbor Butcher saving lives. And all of a sudden his eyes are open to something. In a way that kind of happened with Deb at the end of season 5, that she caught Lumen and Dexter killing someone and was like, I can't be okay with this, but also I'm okay with this because I know what you're doing and I get it. You have Batista see that. And that's to me where Blessing kind of pulls plot lines together in a way that you can see it merging, making sense. Like I can see a finale there that I go, oh, that would be cool if they did that. And it resolves things moving forward. So for me, I see Blessing as the character that they've kind of taken us on this journey. Even some stuff that Cody Leach pointed out in his video that, like, why is Blessing so comfortable making friends with a complete stranger while talking about how complete strangers in the backseat of cars are killing people? Because he's just not afraid. Like, he's a guy that has a really hard edge to him, and he himself is more dangerous than these other killers. So he's like, you're not going to get me. And so he just get away with it. And the other one in this is that Blessing becomes Blessing is what Dexter thought Trinity was. Blessing actually was a serial killer with his own dark passenger of sorts, killing people, and did have a healthy family life, maybe a little bit controlling, but his family is actually happy. They actually love him. And so what if Dexter finds the version of Trinity, and all of a sudden he's conflicted it again? It's the fulfillment, the proper version of what he thought Trinity was. And he sees it in Blessing by living with him, seeing what the family was actually like, and it worked. And what does that do to Dexter's thinking and all of that stuff? And once again, has to kill a friend at the end of it. Maybe, if my theory comes together, to save a friend, Batista. I don't know, but that's the one that in my mind, plots coming together and everything like that, I see a vision with Blessing that makes a lot of sense thematically, story-wise, and crescendoing things really nicely. So he comes in at number 1. Let me know your theories down below in the comments section. Likewise, if you like these videos, I've been doing Dexter season reviews over on my second channel. I guess I'll try to have a playlist or something around here. Something you can check out with all of that information or a pinned comment. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.